Alrighty, let's get ready to rock and roll tonight. I've been away for a while, I know. I'm not proud of it. I wish I could have posted more this November, but Novembers are always bad for me. It's always just burnout central in November, and it always just sucks, especially Thanksgiving. It's not even a real holiday. It's not that I didn't get invited to anybody's Thanksgiving dinners. Not that either. But no, it's not even a real holiday. Anyway, we'll be starting up in under 20 seconds, so thank you to the folks who are here early. I should probably pause the stream in the background. Yeah, I don't need that shit in the background. I don't need the extra noise, that's for sure. Don't need it at all. Alright, looks like a lot of folks are here early. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Now let's begin. Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and welcome to Dr. Wolfula After Dark, my late-night talk show where I discuss the latest things happening in the world of horror. Now, admittedly, there isn't a lot of new, there's been a lot of great movies coming out, but not a lot of news of upcoming horror movies. This is always like the dead time of year where there's just like, all you can really do is do a lot of catching up and just kind of, accept what you got. But tonight, we will be discussing and catching up on all the latest news about the upcoming Scream 6. Alright, it's probably not going to be called Scream 6. Not going to be the actual title. The Scream franchise had a great naming scheme for all the sequels. There was Scream 1 through 4. Made sense. I mean, the first movie didn't have the number 4, but all the sequels had numbers. Sensible. Then Scream 5 didn't go with 5 cream like we all hoped. Didn't have a number at all, even. Just went with Scream. So I guess the thing we can discuss first, what the hell are they going to call Scream 6? What the hell is this movie going to be called? And, it seems likely it might just be called Scream 2. That's at least what we've seen on the clapboards. They've been using this logo. It's essentially a double exclamation mark, meant to look like Roman numerals of 2. So that's probably what they're going to go with. I mean, it's also possible that they will be going with, like, the Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends name scheme, where it's just adding a subtitle, where it's like, Scream Again, or Keep Screaming, or just, like, something stupid. But more likely, it seems like they're maybe set on just using the Roman numeral scheme this time around. I guess it would kind of slightly differentiate things. And I do think, like, the double exclamation marks is kind of stylish. I mean, it would be a little dumb calling this movie Scream double exclamation point. So hopefully they land on a good name. Like, I mean, ideally I don't want it to be called Scream 2 because that shit's confusing. But it seems like that's in the cards. But at least maybe, at least a different stylization of the title from the original Scream 2. At least there's that. We could call it the Scream 2 with Roman numerals / exclamation points, It's not ideal. None of this is ideal. I mean, the ideal thing would be to call Scream 5, and this next one Scream 6, but it's probably just not in the cards. I mean, it was confusing to the point where Scream 5, when it came out to Blu-ray, had to have, like, a sticker on it that said all new movie, because otherwise people would be confused seeing a ghost face and the word Scream, and they'd be like, okay, this is the original movie. Like, they would put a fucking sticker on the fucking cover. But anyway, let's get into the actual nitty-gritty here. The movie's coming out March 10th. We know that. Now, this little thumbnail here, it's probably just fan-made, because I've never seen this logo used at all. It's kind of cute and clever if they were using the number scheme. Like, it's a little reminiscent of 5 cream, where, like, the Roman numeral 6 is built into the M. That's kind of cute, but I'm pretty sure this is fan-made. But we do know it's coming out March 10th, which is actually good news because it was supposed to come out March 31st, I believe. In fact, that is the case, actually. It was supposed to come out March 31st, so it's always good news when a movie gets pushed up instead of pushed back. It means, it's on schedule, everything's going smoothly, and thank you for the generous Super Chat donation, John Jacobs. It means everything's going as planned, so that's at least some good news. They pushed it up instead of pushed it back. You always like to hear that. Now, we also just don't even have a trailer or a poster. All we have is this shitty fucking fan poster, really shitty fan poster that's used on IMDb for the movie as a placeholder. I don't know why IMDb uses fan posters as placeholders for movies that don't have posters yet. Like, you would think they'd be like, all right, we'll just wait until we have an official poster. But they always use, like, the shittiest fan posters, too, as, like, the placeholders. Just like, this looks god-awful. It's just, ugh. Like, it's like the regular Scream logo with, like Helvetica 6. Man, ugh, dear Lord. Yeah, so we're still waiting for an actual poster. All we really know officially is just this little sort of synopsis. The film continues with the survivors of the latest Ghostface killings. Sister Samantha and Tara Carpenter and twins Chad and Mindy Meeks leaving Woodsboro behind and starting a new chapter of their lives in New York City, only to be again plagued by a streak of murders by a new Ghostface killer. So we know it takes place in New York City. That's the key thing. You know, I mean, this isn't the first movie where they left Woodsboro. They left Woodsboro in the fucking first sequel, Scream 2. Totally new location. In fact, they didn't go back to Woodsboro again until Scream 4, and then, like, they went back again in Scream 5. So it's nice that they're going back to the scheme of the original sequels where, you know, just new locations, not the same fucking town as the original movie over and over again. So it's a change of pace, going back to, you know, changing the scenery. It'll be interesting to see, like, just a slasher movie in an urban setting. Usually slasher movies take place out in the middle of nowhere, or they take place in the suburbs, which is, you know, practically nowhere. So it's nice to have a slasher movie that takes place a little bit more, where there's just, like, it's like a little, just a different kind of thing that can, you know, relate to other people, because not everybody lives in suburbs or rural areas. Some people just live in cities, so it's like, you know, an opportunity to reach, you know, like, to really connect with different people, like something other people can recognize. And, you know, we don't have an official poster, but I thought this fan-made poster was really cool by Arturo Navarro. Basically, it's just, you know, a Photoshop of the Jason Takes Manhattan poster, but it would be really cool if they actually did this officially. They're probably not, but man, oh man, if they did a Jason Takes Manhattan reference with, like, the ad campaign, I'd fucking love it. But I don't think Paramount wants to fucking, you know, remember their first, like, basically where they gave up with on the Friday the 13th franchise and slashers in general. I don't know if they want to, you know, open up old wounds, I suppose. But, you know, it's pretty cool and clever. You know, I'm hoping there are Jason Takes Manhattan references, but actually something that's kind of an unfortunate, unintended reference with this movie to Jason Takes Manhattan is that it's a movie that takes place in New York, but it's mainly shot in Canada, again. I'm pretty sure most of the movie is going to be shot in Canada, Montreal specifically. You could see in this, like, behind-the-scenes photo, they show, like, a fake subway car, so I'm pretty sure all of, like, the interiors of this movie, at least, are all shot in Canada. Maybe some of the exteriors, too. You know, chances are high that they did shoot some scenes actually in New York City, which I'm hoping it's not a Jason Takes Manhattan situation where there's still a lot, where you know, Jason Takes Manhattan, like, probably like 5% of the movie took place in Manhattan. So I'm hoping the percentages of actual Manhattan shot scenes are higher than that. I'm really rooting for it because, you know, New York City has a certain look and feel. So if it doesn't quite capture that, and if they totally cheap out and they don't shoot a lot of stuff in the actual city, it's going to be a little bit of a letdown, I think. So hopefully they, you know, did the real thing, like, for most of the movie, because I've only really heard most of the movie is shot in Canada. So, you know, hoping they, you know, take things up a little further from Jason Takes Manhattan, because there's going to be lots of comparisons otherwise. Now, of course, all the cast members from the previous movie that survived are returning. The new ones, I should say. The only returning cast member from the previous film is Gale Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, which, you know, we'll get into the kind of questionable things. I'm kind of wondering if Gale Weathers is just a cameo, too. But, you know, it does give an opportunity to focus on the two new characters and kind of get away from the shadow of the original legacy characters a little bit. I mean, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like probably Gale Weathers is just a thankless cameo. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if any appearances from previous cast members, it's just like a little cameo. It's just like, yeah, this still is, connected to the original movies, but, we're not going to be dwelling on that stuff as much. We're going to be kind of focusing on the future, so, yeah, but, Sam Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera, returns, Jenna Ortega returns, and of course those Meeks twins survive, so we're going to be focusing on them. It's nice that, it's just new characters. It kind of just, I felt like the series kind of got bogged down trying to, bring back these invincible characters, so I'm glad they killed Dewey, spoilers, so I'm glad they kind of finally broke the trinity of the Scream franchise and kind of just were like, yeah, anybody can die, it was kind of refreshing. Now, a character that actually is returning that, isn't, a legacy cast member from the original movie is Kirby, though, from Scream 4. Scream 4 was something that was kind of mostly ignored in Scream 5. There were references, and, one of the blonde cop character returned, and we got into her a little bit, but mostly it was just kind of like focusing on the, original movie's legacy and not kind of dwelling too much on, like, the fourth movie, which was I believe the fourth movie wasn't quite as successful as it was supposed to be. I thought it was okay. I thought it was a fine movie, but, I guess it was not a movie they wanted to focus too much on. But it's nice to see, like, they're fucking acknowledging the fourth movie with Hayden Panettiere returning as Kirby, as represented by the Nintendo Kirby. Not the actual character. I don't know why Goulash put in a picture of the Nintendo Kirby and not a picture of what Hayden Panettiere looked like in Scream 4. It seems like kind of a fuck up. That's not the right Kirby, Goulash. I don't know what the fuck. Dear God. Okay. All right. But yeah, Kirby is returning. So, Scream 4 is finally kind of getting a little bit more representation beyond just a minor blonde cop character that tried to fucking have an affair with Dewey in Scream 4. Like, actually, maybe, what if that Wes character was the illegitimate son of Dewey? Well, he's dead now. It doesn't matter. They're all fucking dead. Who cares about the infidelity that may or may not have occurred? Just occurred to me, though. But it doesn't matter. That whole family line is dead anyway. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the serious omission. And thank you, Nicole L., for the Super Chat donation. I appreciate. Let's move on to the serious omission, though, from the cast. Well, actually, no, Goulash, you fucked up. This is not the right order of things. But yeah, I guess this shows you what Hayden Panettiere is going to be looking like. So I'm actually glad that Kirby is not going to be looking the same as she did 11 years ago. Like, I'm really glad they didn't do that thing where it's like, okay, we need to fucking remind people what about this character. Let's give her like the same fucking haircut she had. So at least it feels like, okay, this person has lived a life and she's not going to be looking the same way she did when she was in high school. I appreciate that. Appreciate they didn't like try to do some kind of nostalgia thing where it's like, here's Kirby exactly the same way. She has not grown at all as a person. So I'm glad they went in this direction, gave her a whole new look. And here's like, you get a good look at all the new characters. I guess she's the only old guard character. And who knows? Maybe she could be the killer. Who knows? I mean, they've never really done that, actually, in any of the Scream movies. Have, like, the killer be, a character, a recurring character at all. They've never done that. It's always just been some rando introduced within the movie itself. It would be cool to have, like, finally a recurring character, a returning character actually turn out to be the killer. Finally fucking break some new ground with, like, the killers, because it's always just some random dude that's just introduced, like a random couple characters that are just introduced, like, just, like, within the movie. Anytime you see, like, just a character you've never seen before, that's always the thing that's really suspicious about them. You don't know them. They're strangers, practically. But if a character came from a previous movie, they're not gonna be the killer. They're not going to be the killer. Yeah, don't worry. They're homies. It'd just be a nice change of pace, I guess. It might piss off the Kirby stans, though. Which, honestly, I don't even really understand why Kirby has such a huge fan base. I don't really remember her character that clearly beyond her being Hayden Panettiere. I guess maybe it's just because it's Hayden Panettiere and people just like the actress, because I can't remember anything Kirby does that was all that interesting. I guess she was like a horror fan, I suppose, and that kind of made her a little suspicious, but I don't really remember anything else beyond that. But it's nice she's returning, at least. But yeah, this is the main omission. This is what I meant to go in before I was, totally fucked up by Goulash. Yes, Neve Campbell isn't returning. This will be the first Scream movie where she doesn't return, which, it's a big deal because she's not returning because of a pay dispute. She didn't like the paycheck she was offered, which, is understandable. Like, it makes me wonder how substantial her role was. Because part of me feels like if they could just be like, okay, you're not going to be in the movie, her role probably was just like a cameo. Like, it probably just a minor thing. It probably wasn't going to be like some substantial thing where she's in the movie throughout or something. So if they could just like exclude her character, it was probably wasn't going to be doing much. It does suck that, they didn't, like, she didn't get paid what she wanted to get paid. But, it's not too big of a deal to me not having her return, just because I feel like her character's arc has been concluded, to me at least. It felt like Scream 5 was like just an epilogue, a farewell to the original characters and passing of the torch. It feels like, having her come back, it just feels like, okay, well, she's moved on with her life. Why is she still fucking fighting ghost faces and shit? She's not, like, responsible for all these randos. She's gonna move on with her life eventually. And, the longer you keep her around in the movies, the more you question, like, when is she gonna die or something? Like, is something else gonna happen? Like, I don't know, because I'm not going to necessarily miss Sidney. I mean, she's a big part of the franchise, but to me, her story has been told, and keeping her around, it just feels like keeping her around for the sake of keeping her around at this point, But it's still unfortunate that, they weren't willing to pay her what she wanted to get paid. I mean, maybe she felt like maybe also was owed some money, but yeah, no Sidney. I mean, it's not a big deal to me, but I know there's lots of Sidney fans that are very disappointed in this, and it's kind of, killed their hype for Scream 6, like, right out of the gate. So, I understand their disappointment, but, yeah, personally, I'm not that, my hopes aren't that shattered, just because I just felt like, Sidney went everywhere she needed to go, and finally had, like, a happy ending, so it just feels like keeping her around just risks, like, fucking up her happy life more. Like, I don't know. It was nice that she got, like, a happy life in Scream 5. I didn't really feel like, oh yeah, now it's like, let's just keep ruining her life. Like, let's possibly take that all away from her. Yeah, I'm fine with Sidney not returning. But a character that is probably returning, and, if you didn't see Scream 5, I guess spoilers, they had a CGI hallucination of Skeet Ulrich playing Billy Loomis. He's probably going to return again. There's no way they're not going to have Billy Loomis return, because it was such a big twist to the plot of Scream 5. He's definitely going to come back in some form. They just haven't officially, stated, yeah, Skeet Ulrich is coming back, because I think, with the controversy over not bringing back Neve Campbell, I don't think they want to, come out and say, well, we're not bringing back the main, female protagonist of the franchise, but we're bringing back the original killer again, we'll bring back that guy, a character who's dead, So they probably don't want to be like, yeah, especially since it was such a fucking controversial thing of Neve Campbell being like, they'll bring back a male actor and pay him what he deserves, but they won't do the same with a female actress. So yeah, they're definitely going to keep this on the down low. Skeet Ulrich coming back, and also, I guess, to preserve the twist of Scream 5 in case people haven't seen it and, might catch up on it right before Scream 6 comes out. But yeah, I spoiled it for you. I mean, it was honestly a weird twist to the movie, a twist I haven't really fully gotten behind yet, because it feels like a supernatural thing. It's very reminiscent of, the twist of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, where, magically Laurie can see visions of a dead mother she's never known exactly the same way Michael sees her. Like, it's a weird thing where it's like even before she knew Billy Loomis was her father, she's seeing like visions of him and shit. It's weird. It felt like a kind of strange thing just to bring back the classic villain, like just to get around death being permanent in this franchise. I don't know. It was a little weird, but I guess I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Because it's going to be a very big aspect of this next movie, I assume, unless they totally drop it. Unless they're like, nah, that was stupid. Let's fucking abandon that idea. Let's not dwell on that. And thank you, Xavier the God, for the super chat. JDF and KC90s kids are having a tough time. Yeah. And ATM has a super chat. Can't wait for the Haunted Mansion 2023. I'm actually looking forward to that myself. I'll probably talk about that more in the Q&A section. But yeah, Skeet Ulrich probably coming back. Hopefully it's done better. And, it might open the door for other killers to come back as, like, fucking Force ghosts that... fucking Force ghosts that Sam sees, like... nobody else can see. Like, it feels a little bit like it's like the Scream series version of the Great Gazoo from Flintstones. It's like just these little characters that only Sam can see, like fucking Fred Flintstone. Oh, man. But, I mean, I guess a key thing about tying up this loose end of the Billy hallucinations and maybe even explaining them in like a way that's kind of, in a way that makes sense, that isn't just like magic, supernatural, ghost bullshit. Because, like, the Scream franchise so far has been, like, based, kind of in reality, a metafictional, like, self-referential reality, but mostly in reality. I think a way they could kind of tie up the loose ends is kind of address the fact that she has fucking the original Ghostface in her head. And that's not a good thing to have. It's gonna probably lead to Sam's character becoming, like, violent and aggressive or something, like becoming much more Ghostface. Like, it's not a character you want to have in your head. So it'll probably lead to some tension. I hope it gets like a decent explanation and it's not just some kind of fucking ghost she sees. I don't know. We'll see though. But something that is like a bit of a controversial topic, something that kind of got leaked about Scream 6, is this shot of Ghostface using a fucking shotgun. This is totally out of context, of course. We don't really know what's going on in this scene. It seems like it's a grocery store, so it seems like my best guess is that this is just a robbery. It's like a fake out. You think it's the actual Ghostface killer in the film, but it's really just some random fucking guy robbing a grocery store using the Ghostface costume because it's like the most fucking famous Halloween costume in this world. Like, it's just, this is the most fucking notorious fictional killer / real killer, like, because of course fucking Stab series is based on real killings. It's a little convoluted, but yeah, I mean, to me it's probably just a grocery store robber. But of course you could also maybe say it is actually one of the killers or the killer. Who knows? You never know. Usually it's two killers. Like, there hasn't really been a lot of cases of single killers or like three killers. It's probably two killers, but this could be one of the two actual killers of the movie, and they're just like not fucking around this time, especially since, it's been stated that this Ghostface is going to be even more violent and aggressive. So he might just not even be fucking around anymore. He just fucking uses guns now. He doesn't like fuck around with, okay, I'm just gonna like chase people. He's just like, I know what like, it'd be nice if a Ghostface learned the lessons of previous Ghostfaces. Like, chasing people, it's like traditional, like chasing people with a knife, it's a traditional thing, but it doesn't lead to much success. Like, it'd be great if like this one was just like, I'm just gonna fucking just shoot them. I'm just gonna fucking blow their heads off. Like, it'd be an interesting twist to things because, this is like a slasher franchise, but at a certain point you kind of have to like wonder when reality steps in, because it is supposed to take place in like a reflection of reality. So you kind of wonder like, when are they going to use guns, especially since, the Ghostface killers use guns anyway, just never in their costume. They always just use the guns when they do their stupid fucking monologues that end up getting themselves killed. it's one of those things where it was like a cool twist in the original movie, but all the sequels follow this formula where it's like the ghost face is stabbing people for most of the movie in a costume. Then they unmask like it's Scooby-Doo, as illustrated by the Shaggy here as Stu. They unmask and then they do like a monologue at gunpoint, and it's like they use guns anyway. It's just one of those things where it'd be nice if a Scream sequel finally broke the rules of the original movie, because something that was beautiful about the original Scream is that it broke the rules of slasher movies. Like, it set up the rules and explained them really well, but the rules are just guidelines. You don't have to follow them. You can break any of the rules, and like, ending your slasher movie with the killers at gunpoint explaining their plans like James Bond villains, that's not like the slasher formula at all. It totally fucking drifted away from the slasher formula right there. But ironically, all the sequels follow the original movie's rule breaking as a formula, so they just follow the rules of the first movie. So it'd be interesting to see, a Scream sequel actually break the rules of the original movie and just do something like totally different and crazy, and finally, like, just because rules are meant to be broken, just finally fucking tear up the rule book and just make totally new rules, especially since it's New York. New York, new rules. Oh, man. But anyway, that's all I have to say about Scream 6 so far. We don't know a whole lot more. Once we get the trailers and posters and more official stills, I'll have a lot more to talk about, of course. But this is just, me kind of just collecting all the tidbits of information we have so far and just just kind of speculating on things, which is always fun to do. It's always kind of fun early on to just be like, don't know a whole lot about upcoming horror movies. Let's just kind of sort of, speculate, like based on the little bits of information we got. Because, of course, the speculation kind of becomes less possible once you have a much clearer view of what a movie's like with the trailers and everything. You kind of lose that mystery, especially since trailers fucking tell you everything about what's going to happen in a movie. So, this is always a fun period, especially since the movie isn't coming out. I mean, the movie is coming out soon. It's fucking coming out in 4 months. Like, really fucking soon. It's coming out really soon. So, the promotion for this film is going to be really last minute. It's going to be down to the wire, which is usually the case now with these horror franchises, horror sequels. It's just like, all right, we just finished the movie. Now, here's the trailers and stuff, like, a few weeks before it comes out. It's always really last minute. Oh, man, it's just... Then it hits you, this movie's coming out. Then again, this movie could get delayed. We'll wait and see. I mean, part of me feels like the issue with this movie coming out so soon is, it might get rushed. I mean, it's coming out a little over a year, which is a little better than the situation of Scream 1 to Scream 2, but I'm a little afraid of the quality might really dip. And, I really enjoyed watching Scream 5, but there were a lot of problems I had, but I still had a fun time with the movie. So part of me is like a little afraid they're not going to have a lot of time to they're not going to have enough time to do a much better job with this sixth film. I got my fingers crossed though, and I guess we'll see what happens when this movie comes out. And I guess we'll find out together. And, also speculate a little bit more once we get a little bit more promotional materials, too, and maybe get an actual official title. But that's enough of that. Let's move on to channel announcements before we get to the Q&A. Now, I had someone, a little upset at me that my Nightmare on Elm Street 4 review was so delayed. It was supposed to come out sooner. I am editing it. I'm definitely going to finish it. It's going to come out. So just take it easy. I know I don't like it when stuff gets delayed, but sometimes things happen and kind of sets things aside. But don't worry, it's coming. And then I'll work on at least a couple Christmas things. Maybe a duet with Goulash in a Christmas special. So, just be patient. I've been catching up on things. I don't like it when I'm on hiatus or anything like that, and there's always an adjustment period to get back into stuff, so just sit tight. I will be returning with the stuff you're mainly subscribed for. Don't worry, that stuff's coming. It is coming. I know you guys aren't subscribed for these Q&As and news stuff, but It's just a little fun thing in between. And, it just keeps me going. Just keeps me going while I'm working in an editing software, not interacting with you guys. It's, a little isolating. So, it's nice to do these things. Get to chat with you guys. And also, tomorrow night, Sunday, I will be having a Final Destination 5 movie night stream with my Patreon supporters and channel members. So, if you want to support the channel, you get this little bonus stream in return. So consider supporting the channel. Link in the description to join in. Now, let's actually get to the Q&A and catch up with the Super Chats and talk with you folks. All right. Let's catch up with these Super Chats, and then I'll answer some normal questions. The King of the Fat asks, Doc, did you see the new Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie? I haven't yet. I really do want to see it, though. I actually ordered the series on DVD, like the complete series box set, which isn't totally complete. At least I think one episode is missing, but that's coming tomorrow. And I think once I watch the whole series again, I think I might like watch the second movie a little sooner. But I think once I watch a lot of the original show again, I'll finally watch Plantasm, Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm. It's cool it's come out, and especially I should probably definitely support it, because I guess if this Plantasm movie isn't successful, they might, you never really know with Warner Brothers. Like, they announced they were going to make they're making a Venture Brothers movie that's going to come out on DVD and Blu-ray. And I guess if I don't get this Adult Swim movie that's a kind of revival of a classic show, they might decide to cancel Venture Brothers' movie, and I don't want that to happen. I want that movie to come out most of all. I want an actual finale to that show, so it would really suck if it didn't happen, if it did not occur. But yeah, I'll watch it soon. 3 Trailers Down has a super chat. Hey Doc, would you be cool with the killer getting away at the end of this one and being revealed to be Stu in 7? Never seen a killer get away yet. I mean, that would be a cool change of pace if the killer just wasn't caught. Like, there wasn't like any sense of, I mean, I guess some people would be pissed off, but I don't know. I like the idea of the killers finally kind of winning, kind of not getting their comeuppance, because they always do in the end. I don't know. I feel like they gotta change things up, because that was the most disappointing thing to me about Scream 5, is just, it had, like, such a shitty, nonsensical, stupid finale. Like, that final act was just so fucking dumb. Just the worst Scream killers ever. Like, just, it wasn't my kind of thing. I enjoyed the movie overall and had a fun time with it, but it was just fucking, I don't know, it just didn't quite like Scream 5's conclusion, so they really gotta mix things up with the finale, because I'm really fucking tired of the killer reveals themselves and they monologue and that's how they get killed. Like, it's just fucking so predictable at this point. They gotta have something else happening in the final act, and hopefully they heard the feedback, because they really played things super safe with Scream 5's final act. I'm so sick of that. Sick of these endings. Like the first movie was all about breaking rules in the end, and, the sequels just always follow the rules. It sucks. They gotta break the rules. That's what I want to see, at least. Rules are guidelines. They're not meant to be, followed dogmatically necessarily. You can break away from them at a certain point. Now, Artist SRF just has a super chat donation. Thank you for that. And Xavier, and thank you for it. I mean, it's especially generous of you. Thank you. Come in handy during the holidays. Xavier the God has a super chat. Doc, you gonna see that new Killer Santa movie? Gotta be a little bit more specific. I mean, I guess if you mean the David Harbour one that's coming out where it's like Die Hard, I'll probably catch it. That looks fun. There's so many Killer Santa movies. I know there's like a Killer Grinch movie that's gonna be coming out soon. I might see that. That might be a thing I review, at least for a mini review. That seems like it'd be a fun time. So I'll keep an eye out for any good Christmas movies. I'm probably gonna end up finishing off the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, for sure. I think that's gonna be next on the agenda, but, for now, what I do during Christmas time for my Christmas videos, it's a little bit more up in the air. I'll start to figure that stuff out once I'm done catching up on on all this other stuff. But yeah, the mean ones, Nicole L says, that's going to be the Killer Grinch movie that's coming out. Which, I'm guessing they're not going to call him Grinch, because if they do, they got fucking balls of steel if they make this Killer Grinch movie and he is called Grinch, because there's no way Universal is going to fucking let that stand. They're going to get sued into oblivion, so chances are high he's probably just going to be called the mean one, or he'll look like, I know, I've seen the still of what he looks like. He looks like the Grinch, and it's called the mean one, so chances are they'll probably just call him something else, but, for all intents and purposes, he'll be the Grinch. But then again, maybe they are just calling him Grinch, Artist SRF has a super chat. Can you see a Ghostface killer murder a mugger? They're not good guys. They wouldn't go out of their way to be, heroes or something. But I think something they are going to be exploring with this new Scream movie is the idea that anybody can wear that costume. It's a little ridiculous at this point that the Scream movies only depict, just people with, just horror movie nerds. People with encyclopedic knowledge of horror movies, carrying out these killings in, some kind of revenge scheme in Woodsboro. Realistically, there'll be, tons of different kinds of criminals that would use the Ghostface costume as a disguise and also to spook people. To me, that's an interesting idea, that Ghostface is Legion. Anybody can be Ghostface, and he's, everywhere. And, it's just much more of a national problem of just, fucking bad people wearing that costume to carry out bad shit. So we might see glimpses of stuff a grocery store robber carry out his crime dressed up as Ghostface, things like that, and maybe just explore just there's just lots of, I don't know, the idea that because it's not one guy. Ghostface is not one guy, but if you wear that costume, you're basically Ghostface. Everybody who wears that costume suddenly becomes Ghostface. He can be anyone, he could be anywhere, and it's a scary idea. There's some, interesting ground to explore there. Xavier DeGod has a super chat. Doc, you excited for the new Friday the 13th prequel? I actually am, which, because it's got Brian Fuller making it, so it's got credibility. He's not some fucking rando. That's something I'm liking about, these horror franchise revivals, is they're not just giving it to fucking randos. Before, they'd just give it to a guy who directed some music videos and be like, hey, here's this beloved horror franchise. Do something with it, because sometimes you'll get something good. David Fincher came from music videos and stuff, but I don't know, it's one of those things where it always puts my heart at ease a bit more when it's just somebody I've heard of, I've seen stuff they've done, and I like what they do. So I'm interested in seeing what they do with a Crystal Lake prequel dealing with young Mrs. Voorhees. We get to know about her character more. We've seen little bits and pieces of her character in the Friday the 13th comics, little different takes on her origin story. So it'll be nice to see maybe something. So I'm hoping part of me hopes it's something where it is connected to the movies. It's just directly connected to the movies. It's not like Hannibal, Brian Fuller's Hannibal, where it is a reimagination of things, where this is actual Mrs. Voorhees's crimes and killings beforehand, and we get to maybe see her more with Jason as a kid, see what kind of fucked up mother she was. It'd be interesting to just be this is connected to the original movie at least, because I guess rights-wise, this isn't really fully official. Like this Crystal Lake show, it's kind of a little up in the air. How involved the folks who are kind of behind the movies, it's a complicated rights situation where Victor Miller essentially set up this Crystal Lake show because he has the rights to Mrs. Voorhees and the town of Crystal Lake, most of the stuff. But I don't think he has the rights to Jason Voorhees wearing a hockey mask. He doesn't have the rights to any of that shit. He just has the rights to things that were established in the original movie. So it becomes this kind of complicated thing where it seems like he got tired of, like, the folks who are trying to make another, hockey mask Jason killer movie. Like, he got tired of them dragging their feet, like, not accepting that he owns some of the rights to the franchise. And he's just like, all right, I'm just going to go forward with this thing if you guys aren't going to be involved. And, if this thing is successful, it should end up leading to, like, the folks who have, like, a skin in the game as far as making another fucking hockey mask killer Jason Voorhees to, like, finally, concede their defeat and, like, involve Victor Miller to a certain degree, give him a taste of the pie, because otherwise, they're not going to be able to make, like, an actual Friday the 13th movie otherwise. So, it's nice to see, like, something is happening in this franchise. It's no longer dead. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, because I think, it's just an interesting creative lead on this show. Anyway, let me just address some, questions from regular folks. Finally caught up on the super chats. And actually, let me get some Fresca telepathically. Man, I've been, like, talking nonstop for 40 minutes. Haven't had a single drink in all that time. Not good, like, barely taking a breath. Probably not good. But, who wants to live forever? It's whatever. All right, let me see. I'm trying to find a good one. Ellie says, do you think the new Crystal Lake series could contradict the lore of the Pamela tapes from the Friday the 13th video game? I mean, that's safe to say, because unfortunately, video games don't have, like, they just, like, it's an art form itself, but they usually aren't, like, taken into consideration as canonical with anything regarding movies or shows. Like, it's always just like, well, that just didn't happen. Like, I'm not even gonna bother, like, considering that thing as, like, a real thing that happened, It's an unfortunate thing because, it really just makes it feel like, it makes video games feel like they don't count when, they do count, they should count, but, it's unfortunate. Because I'm trying to think of, like, anytime there's, like, a video game adaptation of a movie, like, I remember the Spider-Man game had, like, Shocker in it. It had Shocker in it, but he, like, that stuff was not referenced. Like, the movies always treated it like, Spider-Man only has ever fought Green Goblin, Doc Ock, when, the video games would have him fighting all of his fucking villains, but that stuff never counted, so it's just like, it's one of those things where it's cool when video games get to count and they're treated as, like, important canon, because, usually they don't, and it's unfortunate. All right, Johnny Nago says, are you a Godzilla fan / King Kong fan? I'm a casual fan of Godzilla. I've seen the movies, but not hardcore fan. Like, people, like, Godzilla is like a religion to some horror fans, but never got super hardcore into Suitmation films, kaiju films like that. But I'm a huge King Kong fan. I guess maybe also because both fucking big fucking hairy beasts, I suppose. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of King Kong. Definitely my favorite giant monster. Love the original 1933 Marion C. Cooper King Kong. Love that. It was my first love of the giant ape. I also really love the Peter Jackson remake. Love those two. And, the 70s remake is also pretty good. And, I kind of like the recent Skull Island movie. And, I did start to watch Godzilla vs. Kong. And then, like, I paused it and I was like, I'll watch it tomorrow night. But I never finished it. And, I feel bad for that. I should probably rewatch it all the way through. But I don't know. I kind of wasn't super into Godzilla versus Kong. At least I wasn't really super engaged with it. Because the unfortunate thing is, these giant monster movies insist on having a lot of human characters, and that's fine. Because that's always a criticism with these giant monster movies, is that they focus so much attention on the people, and they're not very interesting. And of course, kaiju fans will respond by saying, well, I don't watch the movies for the people, I watch it for the giant monsters anyway. But it's one of those things where if this is gonna be in the movie, it should ideally be interesting. Otherwise, focus more on the giant monsters. I don't care about Millie Bobby Brown's character. I don't fucking know her name. I've seen her in the other movie. I don't know her name. I don't give a shit about her. I don't give a shit about any of this other stuff. So either make this stuff interesting or just spend a lot less time on it, because I just want to see fucking Godzilla and King Kong fighting. I don't care about this other shit. Come on. That's all I'm asking for, at least. Because, I really like Peter Jackson's King Kong, because it felt like the characters were really interesting. They really supercharged and, really fleshed out all those characters to the point where, I could watch Jack Black's Carl Denham, for a while before I get back to King Kong and the dinosaurs, but not the same way with these recent ones, where I'm just I don't know, just focus on the monsters. These human characters aren't your strong suit, folks. All right, but yeah, I mean, the actual Japanese Godzilla movies did have interesting characters, especially the original movie. It went into some really interesting themes that maybe the American ones should really draw upon a lot more, go into some much more, I guess, much more controversial territory too, I suppose. The kind of edgy ideas that the original Godzilla, was drawing upon. Maybe that could help these new movies out. Because otherwise, just give us the fucking giant monsters. Otherwise, just focus on that. All right. Kim Tew asks, Family Guy or Simpsons? That's super easy. The Simpsons. I don't even have to, think about it. It's always been The Simpsons. That was, the first 10 seasons are just fucking... I mean, the first season is really rough. In the second season, they're still getting adjusted. But, once you get past, the adjustment period of the classic Simpsons, seasons 3 through 10 are fucking great. I mean, it starts to, get a little worse in season 9 a bit. There's less... I mean, it's mostly winners in season 9, but there's some clunker episodes in season 9, and then a lot more clunkers in season 10, but, season 3 through 8 is pretty much a fucking perfect run of animated comedy. It's just so fucking great, so funny, just such an influence throughout comedy writing in general, where you could just see the Simpsons, you could just sense the Simpsons' influence in so much of today's comedy writing. It's just, I don't know, it's undeniable. I mean, Family Guy, it feels much more just it's there. It's, it could be funny, but it's mostly just references and cutaway gags and stuff. It's not that same level of influence where actually getting into some interesting, have an interesting, rich world and actually have some genuinely touching moments throughout the show. And I don't know, it's just not the same for me. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. But yeah, I mean, Simpsons hasn't been really great in 20 years though, so it is what it is. But the classic Simpsons, what it's all about. All right, let me see. Artist SRF says, could you see Jack and the Beanstalk work as a horror movie? I mean, haven't they tried to do that a few times? I might be mistaken. I think they've done edgier versions. I think they did Jack the Giant Slayer. I think that's what they did. But Jack and the Beanstalk, I mean, it's a scary idea. I think you could make something that's not a direct adaptation of Jack and the Beanstalk, the story, but basically something inspired by it. I don't know, the idea of a freakish giant monster pursuing you in this alien world, not literally alien, but this world that you're not familiar with. You got to break out. Like, in a lot of ways, I guess you could maybe say a lot of horror movies are kind of Jack and the Beanstalk stories, just not literally, but they're like, it's like, you know, a story where a character goes to a place they shouldn't go, they end up in a scary situation, and they barely get out with their lives. You know, it's, you know, horror really thrives on that kind of premise for the most part. So, yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I guess if you take that into account, yeah, Jack and the Beanstalk literal adaptation could be really scary. But I'm pretty sure there have been ones. I just don't know them. Probably direct-to-video. Xavier the God has a super chat. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies never mention Spider-Man, the new animated series, like the games. Oh, yeah, that's like another thing is like, anytime there's like a tie-in cartoon series, that's never canon. It's always just there. Like, the new Spider-Man Adventures references things from the original Spider-Man movie, but once they made Spider-Man 2, they weren't like, all right, all that shit happened. We had the Lizard, and he was played by Rob Zombie. No. We see the Lizard, and he's definitely not a lizard at this point. He's still just a guy without an arm, and he never really got to become the Lizard, unfortunately. They were really setting up the Lizard in those movies, and just never got around to it. It's one of those, I guess, you know, unfortunate things like Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent. We got Two-Face twice eventually. Was not Billy D. Williams, though. It would have been interesting to see that. I mean, they made like a Batman 89 comic that finally showed Billy D. Williams Two-Face, but it's not the same as like actual Billy D. Williams. Oh, wait, well, we did get the Lego Batman movie that finally gave us Billy D. Williams Two-Face, played by Billy D. Williams. Okay, I mean, there's that at least. Not the same thing as, like, live action, though, Lego Batman. But yeah, it's like one of those things where it's an unfortunate thing where anything that's like a tie-in, it's always like, its days are numbered as far as like getting considered canon. Like, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Alright, gonna have a little bit more Fresca telepathically. Alright. Let me see. Magteeth Matt keeps asking me, did I watch the new Interview with the Vampire? I didn't even know they made a new one. Huh. Guess that's another thing I need to catch up on. Do know I need to see Terrifier 2 finally. I got it queued up, just waiting for a moment where I have the time, because I could watch it anytime. But I want to make sure I have, like, days set up where I could talk about it in a video. So, you know, I'm just waiting for that opportunity, catch up on things enough. But there's a lot of stuff I do need to catch up on besides that. I did see Barbarian, though, and I want to make a video on it, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's hard to make a video on that without, like, just spoiling it, but I did really love Barbarian. I could see that movie being like, yet another divisive horror movie. It feels like, you know, it's one of those things where I feel like horror movies in the last 5 or so years have been getting a lot better, but they've also been getting a lot more divisive, where not everyone can agree on today's horror movies, but, you know, it's you know, it's an interesting situation, at least, and it at least gets people talking about movies. But I really love Barbarian. Kind of just, it had something about it, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it had something about it where it went into, like, relatable situations, but it also was just, like, couldn't see what was going to happen next, and it was kind of fascinating trying to figure out how things tied together. And also, I just really liked how bizarre it all ended up turning out. Like, it just went in a direction that I didn't expect bizarre-wise, but also it just, also, at the same time, it went out of its way to kind of explain the bizarre stuff, where it's still, like, really weird, but it's something where at least it's got, like, some kind of explanation where I could accept it at least, but it's a fucking wild ride. Ah, man. Third Eye Blind says, did you like Terrifier 2? I haven't seen it yet. I heard that, you know, it it's made improvements over the original movie, because, maybe I didn't watch the original movie with the right attitude, but I had issues with it. But it sounds like the issues I had with the original movie, the director, Damien Leone, did address. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. And yeah, I haven't seen Smile yet either. There's lots of horror movies I need to catch up on. Gonna be playing lots of catch up and hopefully have the time to make at least little mini reviews of them. I'm trying to do a thing where I only make long videos about stuff that's either classic or I really want to talk about. And, I'll try to make short mini reviews of, all the horror movies that come out. That's an ideal situation I want to get in. I just need to get in that habit. Okay, Justin Stewart says, did you like the last Alien or the last Blade Runner? Or the last Blade Runner better? I guess they're kind of both Ridley Scott things. Though the last Blade Runner was not directed by Ridley Scott. But yeah, that last Blade Runner was much better than the last Alien movie directed by Ridley Scott. And, I thought, Alien, whatever the fuck the last one was called, Alien, whatever they call it, I don't know. I thought it was okay, I thought it was okay at least. Nothing to write home about, nothing memorable. Not one of the best sequels or anything, but, yeah. Alien Covenant, that's what it was called. Nothing to write home about, but yeah, Blade Runner 2049, really great. I rewatched it recently. I saw it in theaters, rewatched it recently. It's just a really great mystery movie and a great presentation of this, the world of Blade Runner. It's just a really cool, just a cool movie and a cool, reimagining of the Blade Runner universe, pushing things forward and changing things. And greetings to you, Vanessa. Good to have you here. Always good to have Vanessa here. Alright, Michael Diaz says, I know they aren't horror movies, but would you ever consider reviewing Batman movies since you're a fan? I mean, I've been playing the Batman Arkham games, so I feel like and I also reviewed the recent The Batman, so I feel like it's something I want to do. I feel like it's not horror franchise, but, Gotham City is kind of spooky and stuff, so I feel like, I could kind of slide it by. Ideally, I like the channel to just be horror now. I've done some stuff where I've, reviewed Avengers movies or just random non-horror movies in theaters, and it's just doesn't feel right to me, but, I do really love Batman, the Batman universe, so I feel like, I could definitely review at least the Burton Schumacher movies. It could be fun to explore those. Maybe even the Nolan movies, but I guess we'll see. And, I also, since we're talking about Batman, and I meant to continue my Arkham City live stream series sooner, but fortunately, that stuff got sidetracked. I think I'm going to finally finish it off next week, but finally just say rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. Very unfortunate passing. I didn't even see it coming, and I couldn't even imagine, I said it in my post, I couldn't even imagine him passing away. It just felt like he was just always gonna be around being Batman's voice, just always being available to fucking voice Batman, and it's just such a sad situation to lose him. And it's also unfortunate that I don't know, it's so sad, because it would have been cool, I don't know, just knowing that he was gonna be gone so soon, it would have been nice if they did another Batman project with him, like another Arkham game, another video game. I guess they did that fucking Warner Brothers crossover game, Multiverses, that had him playing Batman again. But, it's not the same as another good Batman story with Kevin Conroy. But, it's unfortunate, because fucking Batman the Animated Series is definitely, it's safe to say it's the best superhero animated show. And also one of the best animated shows ever. So it's just, and Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman is just definitive too. So it's just so unfortunate to have lost him. And also, he was just a great guy. He was just such a fucking awesome dude. and it's always really extra upsetting when you lose someone who's just been such a good person, like, and such an influence and presence in people's lives that, you know, you just, I don't know. And I guess it also makes you take these kind of people for granted, and I guess you shouldn't take them for granted. You also always, like, I don't know. I guess, you know, just don't take things for granted, because they're just not always going to be there. And I definitely took Kevin Conroy for granted. Just always thought he was going to be there. Never thought about him a whole lot more beyond he was just fucking amazing Batman voice. Like, my favorite Batman voice. But, you know, he was so much more, and I wish he was still here. Same thing with Jason David Frank, too. Like, just a huge influence on people. That was another really sad passing. It genuinely shocked me. Like, shocked me more than Kevin Conroy's passing, because I was shocked with Kevin Conroy's passing just because it just came out of nowhere. But at the same time, you know, he was older. It's still too young to die, but, you know, he was in his 60s. But, you know, Jason David Frank was just, he was still in his 40s, and he was, like, in terrific shape. So I was just shocked to hear he died. I was like, how could he have passed away? And then finding out it was suicide, like, it was just heartbreaking, because it's just like, I don't know, this guy who seems like he's just got it made would take his own life. It just didn't make any sense. Like, somebody who meant so much to so many people, and, like, basically was a presence in so many kids' lives, like, practically raised them through the TV. Like, it's just heartbreaking, like, to lose that person. But yeah, I guess, you know, if somebody like that could take his own life, then, you know, definitely, you know, try to pay attention to the people around you and try your best to, like, connect to them and make them feel like they're special, because they are, because you never know when they might leave and if they might be the ones to take themselves out. You know, it's so heartbreaking. It's so sad. But yeah, I guess enough discussing this 90s icons that have left us. It's sad enough. You know, let's brighten things up a little bit more. And also, you know, I'm really sad to hear that your dog passed away, King of the Fair. That's also very sad. It's always difficult to lose a beloved pet. So you have my condolences. Xavier the God says, who voices Lego Batman again? Okay, guy who played Job. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Will Arnett. There you go. Will Arnett. Right there, Cole Warner. Right there, coming in hot. Yeah, Will Arnett. I thought he's like, you know, a fine Batman voice, you know, comedically. I guess let me think about who I would say is my second favorite Batman voice. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like, I don't know. I guess I felt like Reno Romano was kind of a good young Batman voice. So, you know, I guess there's that. But yeah, I can't really think about other Batman voices that stand out. They all just kind of pale in comparison to Kevin Conroy. It's one of those things where it's just like, you know, this is a Batman voice. It is the best anybody could do. Because, like, Kevin Conroy is the best. Once you've had the best, it's hard to beat that. I will be streaming Batman Arkham Origins next month, once I finally get Arkham City out of the way, because it's a Christmas game. So, yeah, don't worry. We'll be taking care of that. All right. Gavin Elrod says, thoughts on Adam West Batman. Well, we're talking a lot about Batman tonight. Adam West Batman is, like, a really fun Batman, like a very faithful portrayal of the character as he was in the 50s and 60s. Like, basically, I mean, without him, like, there is no Batman today, really. At least I don't think so. Like, he's the guy who really made Batman, like something that was popular, like, really popular again. Like, and it wasn't really something he was never really all that super popular. I guess he was, like, DC's second big hero for the longest time, but, you know, he always was kind of in the shadow of Superman, but Adam West Batman really led to led to Batman becoming basically DC's, like, bread and butter, like, the most fucking successful superhero they ever made. It's just, And, of course, also Adam West's Batman being so upbeat and cheery did also lead to, in the 70s, the late Denny O'Neil and the late Neil Adams eventually going back to Batman's roots and making him dark again. But, without Adam West, there probably isn't a Cape Crusader today, because he's such an influential part of the franchise, and you can't really escape it. He's like one of the most iconic aspects of Batman. There'll always just be that campiness to Batman. I mean, and he's also, inherently a campy character in general. He's like a fucking billionaire guy who dresses as a bat. It's a goofy idea, so you always gotta have that kind of sense of lightheartedness at the core of the character. And, it was nice to see in Matt Reeves' version of Batman sort of an influence from the Adam West portrayal, where kind of had a sort of dark campiness to it, and Batman's costume is kind of a darker version of Adam West's costume. There's always that influence. It's like an inescapable part of Batman, and it's just one of those things that's... I mean, the 60s TV series is just always fun to watch. Also, the movie that tied into it. I like to revisit that stuff. It's not my favorite version of Batman, but it's definitely like a definitive version of Batman for sure. One of the most influential versions. Yes, indeedy. All right, let me get some more Fresca here. All right, let's try. King of the Fat says part 2 of your Arkham City stream. Probably. I mean, I want to do it early next week, but people don't really like when I stream weekdays. It's bad enough that I'm streaming this at midnight for some people, even on a Saturday, so, we'll see what happens, but it'll definitely be next week. I feel a little bad, anytime I do a stream like this, or a game stream, because it does lead, I am concerned that people think I'm doing this instead of making my regular videos. They'll see a stream like this, or they'll see a game stream and they're like, oh, he's just doing that stuff now. He's not making, reviews or anything like that. He's just doing these streams. And this stuff doesn't take away any time. It's just, the main videos just take a while to make. And, it's just nice to connect with you guys live. It's a whole different dynamic. This literally only takes up, a couple hours of my time, compared to the many hours making the regular videos. So, just sit tight. This is just a fun bonus thing. And if you're not really into the streams, don't have to watch them, they're just here for folks who, like this kind of thing, I guess. Billy Zane is here. Holy shit. And he keeps reminding me I need to finally make my Demon Knight video. I've been it's gonna come next for sure. Next time I revisit the Tales from the Crypt franchise, it's definitely gonna be the next thing. Keep reminding me. Man, I gotta catch up on Tales from the Crypt. All right. Let me see. Somebody genuinely said, my review of Dream Master being delayed was just more broken promises, and I'm editing it. It's just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not, it's gonna happen. It's gonna come out. You just gotta be patient. I'm trying not to break promises. I'm trying to make everybody happy, but, it's just not possible. I'm trying my best, though. Trying my best. All right, Tober says have to head out. Love you, Doc. Love you, too. Pleasant dreams, Tobers. Vanessa says Doc is going to start making 90-day fiancé videos. Well, okay. I don't want to commit to that yet, but, I don't know. I mean, that stuff's kind of horror adjacent. I mean, if I might review Batman stuff, it kind of opens up the door for 90-day fiancé, I suppose. All right, let's try to find something horror-related, or... I guess, I mean, this is Scooby-Doo related. Gavin Elrod says, have you watched the videos defending Scrappy-Doo? I am familiar that there are, like, Scrappy-Doo defenders online. Of course, there is this narrative that Scrappy-Doo saved the Scooby-Doo franchise, but, you know, to me, I don't know, it's, like, hard to kind of, like, get behind that idea that Scrappy-Doo, like, kept the franchise going, because he technically did. But that's one of those things where it's like, the thing that led to the franchise's decline in going into the late 70s was the show just became, like, worse. Like, the animation got much more slipshod. Like, even compared to 60s animation, it got worse. Like, they got less creative with the monsters, and it just kind of became much more like, slapdash, which is saying something, because it's like, original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Isn't, like, the most cutting-edge show, but it looked a lot better than the fucking late 70s Scooby-Doo show. So, of course, their solution was, all right, let's not address the quality issues with Scooby-Doo. Let's just add a little cute character to kind of get people paying attention again. And, you know, that worked, but really the thing that needed to be addressed was just, you know, make it a better show. And I feel like they did that with Pup Named Scooby-Doo, because it had that cute aspect of Scrappy-Doo, but it was just a good show. It looked good, it was well animated. Like, that was the period where Hanna-Barbera was like, okay, let's actually get back into making, like, let's try to push TV animation forward and not, like, just fucking be lazy with the animation. And, you know, it was just a great show, like, really funny, like, funny gags and everything. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it had that Scrappy element of just being cute for cute's sake. Like, it didn't have to be them as kids. Didn't really add anything that much to the formula, but it was just a fun show. So that kind of showed that they just needed to make the show better, make it funny and stuff. And, you know, ever since I felt like they don't really need Scrappy again. Like, I don't know, it's something where it's a little cruel that they won't bring him back at all. Like, they basically have banned Scrappy. They'll reference him and reference how bad he is, too. But they won't bring him back, unfortunately. But, you know, it would be nice to just be like, okay, he's a character that can appear every now and then. I don't want him to be around all the time, but, you know, I feel like it wouldn't be that much of a harm. And, you know, just like, I don't know. It's just my, you know, that's just my 2 cents at least about Scrappy. Like, he's not like a super terrible character, but he's not a character that really adds a whole lot. He just became way too all-encompassing to Scooby-Doo, where eventually they were just like, let's not even fucking bother with Velma and Fred. Let's just give Scrappy some more time, some more spotlight. It's like, I don't know. It's just, And eventually they cut out Daphne in those, like, made-for-TV movies, too. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't hate Scrappy, though. I'm just, like, you know, apathetic towards Scrappy. Don't hate him, just, you know, I'm not, like, fucking desperate for him to come back, though. But I know Scrappy has a lot of fans, though. And, you know, maybe they should get some, you know, they should get pleased in some way, though. They should have Scrappy come back eventually in some form, just to please the small group of Scrappy fans. All right, now let's actually try to talk about, okay, well, Cheese Doodle 96 says, who's best girl in Scooby-Doo, and why is it always Velma? 'Cause she's thick, man. That's it. She's thick. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, gotta be something she's hiding under that sweater. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. Especially in Guess Who, Scooby-Doo? See what she looks like in that show? I mean, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who? She's fucking built like a brick shithouse in that show. It's crazy. They finally fucking did the fan service. It's just nuts. Man, it's like, damn. Anyway, okay, enough Velma, though. Well, Neon Chimp's channel says, do you have any favorite ape-related horror films? Well, King Kong. I mean, that always comes to mind. In fact, another horror ape thing doesn't really come to mind besides King Kong. Now, I noticed the sidebar chat hasn't been updating, like, in real time. Let me see if I can fix that, if I can just refresh it. Because it's been updating, just very slowly. I think hopefully I fixed it. Yeah, I think I fixed it. Hopefully I did. But yeah, pretty much King Kong exclusively comes to mind. I know I think there's some other stuff, but yeah, other than that. Yeah, I did fix the chat. That's good. At least there's that. But yeah, I can't think of anything else ape-related that I love besides King Kong. Wish I could. I mean, the original King Kong is full-on a horror movie, though. Like, fucking King Kong looks pretty scary, especially in, like, the close-up shots they have of, like, the actual life-size King Kong puppet they made. It looks fucking freaky, and he's biting people's heads off. Like, it's a genuine monster movie, like, in the same caliber of Frankenstein or Dracula of the time. Kim 2 says, favorite Nickelodeon show? Let me think, actually. Part of me feels like Hey Arnold. I don't know. It always just comes back to Hey Arnold whenever I think about my favorite Nickelodeon show. But, you know, because it had, like, scary episodes. It kind of had this dark scariness to it. Like, I don't know, this hard edge aspect that other Nickelodeon shows didn't quite have. I'm just struggling to think of another show that I liked the same way as Hey Arnold. Like, especially, like, the Ghost Train episode of Hey Arnold. Let me try to refresh my memory of Nickelodeon shows. I feel like there's another one I really love. Because, you know, all the Nickelodeon shows were fun in different ways. But, I don't know, I guess, let me see. Because it might just be Hey Arnold, as far as overall favorite. I'm disappointed that I can't think of another one that really stands out. Because, you know, I watched fucking Rugrats. I guess Invader Zim was really cool. Danny Phantom was really good. Yeah, there's lots of great Nickelodeon cartoons, but, you know, I don't know, the one that pops out to me. Okay, wait, did he say favorite Nickelodeon show overall? I guess maybe if it's not just cartoons, then probably Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's also, a favorite of mine. But honestly, I was always more into Cartoon Network instead of Nickelodeon. I still like Nickelodeon, watched it, but always just like the Cartoon Network shows more overall. I mean, Nickelodeon was much more successful with their live-action stuff than Cartoon Network, though. Like, the Cartoon Network live-action stuff they tried to do in the late 2000s. Dog shit! Billy Zane says, what's your favorite Justin Long horror movie? Oh, man, this is a tough one. Guess I'll have to go with... Oh, shit. Oh, man, this is tough. I guess... he also did Tusk. I guess I'll have to go with Barbarian. Yeah, this is a tough one, though. Really tough. Alright, let me... Okay, Bob Garland says, what if they did a fake-out with Stu Macher? Use it to mock how many horror sequels had gone supernatural. Have the killer make it look like Stu is alive until the reveal. I mean, it would be interesting if you're led to believe Stu is coming back or something. But then again, I don't know. If they did that, there would be people who would be like, oh man, but I wanted Zombie Stu. I wanted Zombie Stu to come back killing people. Oh, what the fuck? It's just some other fucking dude? Like, oh man. I mean, to me, Stu is always on the table, though. He could always come back just because he was supposed to come back in the original Scream 3 script. So, it's always a possibility. You know, we don't really... his head was crushed by a fucking TV. But you could always just be like, he just got really fucked up. Like, his face is just fucked up. He got, like, really, really fucked up. You know, you could do that. It's always a possibility. I just would like to see, I don't know, some way to bring Matthew Lillard back that's more than just, oh, he's just a random background extra, not Stu. Or he's just, like, in the Ghostface costume, like, in a scene, but, you know, you don't actually see him. It'd just be cool to have some kind of presence. I mean, part of me feels like you could bring back Matthew Lillard as a different character that's not Stu, because he's, you know, he still looks like Stu. He still looks like he did before, just older. I mean, but you could do something where it's just maybe a guy related to Stu or something. I don't know. I feel like you could do something there. Like, you could bring him back in some way, but not necessarily have it be the character. I don't know. just think Matthew Lillard's cool, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's pretty much it. It wouldn't be Stu's twin or anything like that. Maybe a cousin, maybe, I don't know. Just figure something out, I guess. They're not paying me to figure this shit out. Alright, okay, let me see, okay, well, Vanessa says, Doc, would you consider Paranoia Agent psychological horror? Oh, yeah, of course. That's definitely, honestly, that's definitely... And, if you've never seen Paranoia Agent, it's definitely one of those anime shows that's, like, really scary. Like, some of the episodes, genuinely terrifying and really spooky. And the whole premise of the show is just, there's this fucking kid that's on the loose hitting people with a baseball bat while on roller skates. But they really managed to make that something that doesn't sound that scary into something genuinely pretty freaky and terrifying. So yeah, I mean, and it's all just an exploration of paranoia itself, just fucking characters that are total head cases, and let this paranoia surrounding this assailant get to them and become larger than it is, and he just becomes this all-encompassing monster terrorizing Japan. I don't know, it's a cool series if you haven't seen it. Finally got released in an affordable Blu-ray, so, check it out if you haven't seen it, because it's definitely one of my favorite anime shows. But anyway, Mr. Video says, speaking of anime, you ever seen Yami Shibai, Doc? I recommend it. I haven't heard of it, but I guess I'll check it out. I'm not really, admittedly not a big anime guy. It's definitely an art form. It's just, I don't really go out of my way to watch a lot of anime, but there's some anime shows that I do love, like Fully Cooley and Paranoia Agent, things like that. But yeah, not... I love Hayao Miyazaki, the Miyazaki films. I love a lot of, Satoshi Kon's stuff was always great besides Paranoia Agent. Just not a guy who's, like, hardcore in anime where I'm, just going out of my way to go through the extensive library of anime films and shows. But there's lots of great ones that I really should check out, I must say. Canadian Monkey says, thoughts on Tim Burton? Well, I know that Wednesday show came out, and it's definitely something that I'll catch at some point, because Goulash is in the middle of the Addams Family movies. He hasn't finished them yet. He wrote the next videos for the Gulag channel, never got around to doing the rest of the movies yet, though. Didn't fucking record those videos, edit them, he needs to. And I'm assuming once the movies are out of the way, he will review the Wednesday show. But I guess we'll see. But from what I've seen, people are digging the Wednesday show. It seems like a return to form for Tim Burton. It seems like, I don't know, based on, the shit he was talking about Disney, it seems like, I don't know, I guess the reason why his movies have been getting so much weaker over the years is just he's just lost, he's just been losing creative control and just been asked to just, basically just fill a role as director, but he has no say in the vision of the movies. Hopefully that's been the case, because, yeah, his movies have been going downhill, but his, classic era, the 80s to the late 90s, and some movies in the 2000s, too, Big Fish, really good. And I thought Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was, just a nice, crazy adaptation. It's not a classic like the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, but it's just a cool, different take on the original book. He's just a creative dude still. Hopefully he's gonna get back into making the kind of stuff that made him such a fucking big deal to begin with, because stuff like his Dumbo movie just felt like he's just not the same creative talented person he used to be. But it seems like maybe it was just because Hollywood and just executives kind of just forcing him to do things a certain way. Like, and that's probably the case. It seems like he's not going to be working with Disney anymore because of that, too. So, that's good news. Especially since, I don't know, he made so many hits for Disney. It's so weird how they didn't, treat him a lot better, huh? Alright. Okay, let me see. Beerus Darkness says, what got you into horror movies? Well, I've always been drawn to horror to a certain degree. I am a monster, and I've done terrible things to so many over the years, but I guess what really got me into horror was catching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre late at night and just falling in love with just the art form of presenting moving images of horrific scenes. It just, I don't know, there's just something that drew me to the idea that you could make films about the types of things that I got up to. It really opened my eyes. I hadn't even really considered film like a genuine art form before that point, but once I knew you could depict corpses in such a artistic arrangement, then I really appreciated that film truly is one of the highest art forms. So yeah, I guess that's how I got into horror movies. All right. Ellie says, "Are you a fan of the Sonic franchise at all?" The original the original game I played, like the first game I ever played was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And, I've played a lot of the games, and I am a fan of, the original 3 Sonic the Hedgehog games, plus the expansion of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with Knuckles, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Love those games, love Sonic CD. I replayed the Sonic Adventure games again recently. Got a Dreamcast just to play Sonic Adventure when it came out. So, I liked the Blue Blur for a while. It's hard to say Blue Blur. I liked him for a while, his games for a while, but, I kind of fell out of interest for a while because the games, it felt like for a while Sega was just like, well, we lost our console market. We're not making games for consoles, and we need to be making money, so we need to really crank out these Sonic games. And I don't know, the quality really suffered with them. Once it became something that came out like every year, it's just, the games really started to suck, and they didn't take a lot of time to really perfect 3D Sonic. So they sucked for a while. I like Sonic Generations, but it seemed like even with Sonic Generations and Sonic Colors, they would still go back to like really questionable ideas that made the series suck again. But it feels like, I don't know, I got Sonic Frontiers. I'm on the final island of Sonic Frontiers. I'm far into it, and I do like the game overall. It still has it feels like, I don't know, it still feels like it's a game with a lot of problems, but at least it's a game I've been having fun with, at least. But it still feels like, I don't know, like the level design of the game is just kind of shitty. Like, they still don't quite know what to do with Sonic, but at least they're at least throwing a whole bunch of ideas at once into this game to figure out what to do with him. So hopefully they'll streamline it in the next game and figure out what worked with this game and what didn't, because there's certain things that worked with Sonic Frontiers, and, a lot of things that don't work. Like, the mini-games are bullshit, they're terrible, they need to make the level design better and get more creative with the levels. They can't just keep fucking reusing Green Hill Zone, and Chemical Plant Zone and Sky Sanctuary. They need to fucking move on, do some other kinds of levels, finally. But, I did enjoy Sonic Frontiers, still need to finish it, almost done, but then again, it also has one of those things where it's really padded out towards the end. That's something I hate about video games in general now. They're so concerned about being long, and not concerned about just making the games fun throughout, because I love the Batman Arkham games because they're not long. They're just fun throughout. There's no bullshit padding. It's just a fun game throughout, because when, a game is like that, when it's short and sweet, you just replay it nonstop. I've replayed those fucking games nonstop because they're just the best parts, just the best stuff. No bullshit chores that other games make you do. It's just the good stuff. So, that's a general issue I have with a lot of modern video games. They just put chores in. They just put chores in the gameplay just to fucking make the game artificially longer. Yeah, I'm not so into that. All right. Okay. Let me see. Let's move on to horror. I'm talking a lot about Batman and Sonic the Hedgehog. All right. Okay. Justin Stewart says, "You can't turn a horror movie into a good TV show. Am I wrong?" I haven't seen the new Chucky show, but I see a lot of Chucky fans that are very satisfied with the show. I've heard some mixed things about the recent finale of season 2. I still need to watch the show, need to catch up on it, but, it sounds like that show has been liked, and I thought Ash vs. Evil Dead was a great TV series based on a horror movie franchise, so, you can do it well. Just, it could be a little bit of a challenge. It can be a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out how to adapt something that is a horror movie, something that is, really short, and extend it into something that's, where, a horror movie generally is 90 minutes, sometimes maybe 2 hours, but they're generally pretty short, and, the idea of expanding that into something, not only one season of a thing, but multiple seasons, that can be a challenge, figuring out how to do that successfully, where it doesn't feel padded out, where you still have scary stuff happening, you have deaths happening potentially if it's that kind of horror thing, where it's hard to really, figure out the pacing, to take the pacing and apply it to, to take the pacing of a horror movie and apply it to something longer form. That is an issue, that's a challenge, but it's not impossible. It's just, it can be difficult, which is why you don't see it done a lot or done successfully, and sometimes, you have something like Freddy's Nightmares, which is just, let's just have Freddy be the Crypt Keeper and introduce random horror stories that maybe he has some involvement in, but otherwise it's just fucking Tales from the Crypt. Or you'll have we made a Friday the 13th show, but, it's not the premise of those movies. It's just, haunted items. It's just different haunted items every episode, different MacGuffins. Okay, that's not quite Friday the 13th, but alright. So, that's why you don't really see horror movies turned into shows successfully very often, because there's just that feeling. You can't, you'll just have, you'll end up killing the characters off too soon, or not fast enough, where you'll just lose people's interest. But it can be done. It's just hard. Alright, let's move on. Kim Tew says favorite pup named Scooby-Doo episode. Well, the only one that really comes to mind off the top of my head is the one, and man, there's lots of noise at fucking goulash. Fucking goulash. Anyway, the one that comes to mind is the one that was the ghost gangster, because I don't know, it had a really cool design. And that's the only one that really comes to mind. I know there was a clown one. Admittedly, I don't revisit Pup Named Scooby-Doo as often as I should. I do want to get the complete series sometime, because that was a great show. I gotta go through those old classic episodes again for sure. Alright, let me see. Let me see. Mr. Video says, what are your thoughts on the new horror movie Smile? I said earlier I haven't seen it yet, but I need to see it eventually, and hopefully I'll have the time, to talk about it with you folks, but I'll see it eventually for sure. Johnny the Ghost says, thoughts on Malcolm in the Middle? Okay, that's a little random of a question, but, Frankie Muniz, Bryan Cranston, it made their careers, I think, so it has that going for it. I mean, it was a great show, it was a funny show, probably kind of, went longer than it should have, but it was a good show for a while. But I haven't revisited that show in a long time. I did watch it. I used to watch it every night it would come on, though. That was definitely one of those big shows you had to watch. But I haven't watched it since it came out. I guess I probably should rewatch it sometime. Definitely one of those one of those shows that was a big part of my TV viewing ritual that I have not even thought about going back and watching, kind of interestingly enough. Eddie Chase says, Scream 5 is good, and it's a super chat. Thank you, Eddie Chase. Scream 5 is good, however, film needs to stop being so cutesy and having too many survivors, both sisters and both Randy's kids too. New film needs legacy characters and sisters to die to raise stakes. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where they get a little too precious with certain characters. I'm hoping Scream 6 just kills off some of those survivors. At least, like, kill off one of the Carpenter girls. I especially feel like Jenna Ortega, she's, like, gonna be a big star. She doesn't need Scream, so probably kill off her character. Because, she's gonna have a career beyond Scream, so you probably kill off Jenna Ortega's character. And one of the Meeks at least, just to raise the stakes. Like, you can't fall into the same routine of the original Scream movies where there's this group of characters that just aren't gonna die. Don't even count on them dying. Like, all these other characters we're gonna introduce, they're gonna die, for sure. But these three, don't worry, they're invincible. So yeah, they definitely need to be like, some of those returning characters need to die, yeah, for sure. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, I guess they're invincible. All right, whatever. You got some invincible characters in this horror movie. All right, let me see. The Kid Cody 2 says, Hey Doc, can you do a review on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and other MCU films? Well, that's a thing where I don't really want to have superhero stuff on my channel. I want to really just make sure it's like dark or horror stuff. But I'm also not a huge fan of Marvel anyway. The only Marvel character I really like is Spider-Man, so I don't have a lot of interest in Marvel characters. I was watching, for a while, the Marvel movies. I don't know, just because it was like, just for the novelty of they're connected and have these big crossover movies, but I haven't seen any Marvel movies that have been released since Endgame, except for the Spider-Man No Way Home, because it's Spider-Man. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not gonna ever see another Marvel movie. Unless it's Spider-Man related, I guess, or looks really interesting. I guess I'll probably see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Most likely. I do like James Gunn's movies. But other than that, I probably might not see another Marvel movie other than those. I haven't watched any of the Marvel shows. I tried to watch WandaVision, actually, but I couldn't even get into that. So, I think maybe, for the most part, I might be done. I might be done with Marvel. And they're not gonna miss me anyway. They're set for life. They're gonna be making so much money with the movies going forward. They're not going away anytime soon. Just not really for me. But I'm glad, fans of Marvel are well taken care of. I wish I could have said the same thing about DC. But, James Gunn's gonna be in charge of the DC movies going forward, so hopefully they improve. I guess we'll see what happens. Guess we'll see. It feels like a little too late at this point to even try to do a DC cinematic universe, just because it's one of those things where that's the thing, is like, I feel like you only really have room for like one of these kind of cinematic universes in theaters. Because it's like, a movie theater is not a fucking comic book store. It's not like a shelf where you can have all these fucking comic books every month coexisting with each other. It's like a huger investment where you only have like so much space in a movie theater for all these movies, especially simultaneously. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe they could have like made their place as like a super successful other cinematic universe if they did it earlier, but I don't know, I feel like I don't know, it's too late to, like, really build the same traction Marvel managed to build over the years. I don't know. I guess we'll see, though. Guess we'll see with, James Gunn in charge. Guess we'll see. TJ Frizzy says Black Adam was fun. I didn't see Black Adam. I guess, but that's also one of those things where I feel like I'm not super interested in, like, just watching superhero movies now just to watch them. Just because I am, in general, burned out on superhero movies anyway, so it's like, I'm familiar with the Black Adam character, but, I'm not, like, a fan of Black Adam as a character, so it would be one of those things where I see it just because it's a big superhero movie that's coming out, not because I'm interested in it, like, the trailer didn't interest me at all. It's just one of those things where I'm not interested in it. Maybe I would see it and I fucking love it, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm not in a rush to see something like that. Or, I don't want to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna see this just because it's the big movie that's out. And alternatively, I'm becoming much more a guy who's just gonna be seeing movies that aren't big, that do interest me in theaters. Like, I really loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. I rewatched it recently, where I'm watching stuff like that, not just, like, just avoiding, like, the fucking blockbuster stuff. Like, just to be part of the conversation, being one of the many people to see these movies. Like, nah, it's just, it's just watch stuff that just genuinely interests me now. Not just stuff that's big. Alright, let me see. Where do I move on? Question-wise? Let me see. Java says, how about Deadpool 3 with Wolverine? I mean, the funny thing is, never saw any of the Deadpool movies. Deadpool never really appealed to me as a character, which, really popular character. Just, I don't know, never really appealed to me, but I'm glad, Deadpool fans finally got movies they're satisfied with, because, that first X-Men movie with Deadpool in it didn't quite nail Deadpool, so I'm glad they finally did the funny guy in a red suit, sort of Spider-Man looking Deadpool, eventually. So, I'm glad they did that. Just never really been my kind of thing. Never been my kind of thing. Steamlord says, have your thoughts on Halloween Ends changed since your initial viewing? Well, here's the thing. I watched Halloween Ends 4 times. And I like it. I still like it. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a movie that a lot of people fucking hate, but I like it for what it is. It's not a good ending to the Halloween franchise, but it's one of those things where this franchise isn't gonna fucking end. And it's not necessarily even a good ending to this trilogy, where, it's not a great farewell to this version of Michael Myers. It's like a bit of a, he goes out like a bit of a bitch. Like, he doesn't get a great farewell. So I'm not a big fan of, like, the final act or the epilogue. It doesn't really ring as authentic to me, that stuff. But I did enjoy just this different perspective with the Corey Cunningham character and this different concept and the idea that, they broke the fucking mold of the franchise finally and just did something totally out there that still involved Michael Myers and kind of and it was done different exploration of Haddonfield, but it's its own thing that just kind of felt Halloween style. So I enjoyed it, but I understand people who don't like it, but it's one of those things where I still just have a lot of fun watching it. Probably won't watch it again anytime soon. I feel like I watched it enough for the time being, but it's gonna be fun making my bigger video of it. It's gonna definitely be fun. It's gonna be fun, I don't know, just discussing, there's just a lot to unpack with that movie and discuss, so I'm looking forward to the eventual long-form video, but then again, some people were fucking pissed off that I made a big video of Halloween Kills. I made so many videos about the Halloween series to the point where some people were like, are you just making videos of these Halloween movies? Or are you just going to keep re-reviewing them over and over again? And it's like, hey, it's one of those things where I made a short video of the newer movies when they came out, and then I made a longer one. And, my reviews of the original 10 Halloween movies before these new movies came out, like, the original ones were, on the shorter side and really old, like a decade old, so I just felt like I wanted to update them. I'm not going to be like, next year I review Halloween 1978 again. Like, that's not going to fucking happen. Like, I feel like I've said everything I want to say about the Halloween movies that already came out. It was just nice to kind of, expand upon everything the last couple of years. So, I know a lot of people kind of got mad at me about that, but, it is what it is. I'm trying to, like, expand my horizons and go into other horror genres. Not horror, well, also different horror subgenres, but also go into some other horror franchises, too, finally. And finally, let Michael Myers rest for a while. But, it was just, Halloween is my favorite fucking horror franchise overall, so it's just one of those things where I always have a good time talking about it. It's just, it's like Star Wars or something to me. It's just like, some YouTube channels, all they fucking talk about is Marvel movies or Star Wars stuff, like, so, Halloween is that for me, essentially. So, it's just, don't be surprised if I do talk a lot about Michael Myers. It's just my thing. Or, I'd reference the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me, because my favorite horror franchise is Halloween overall, but my favorite individual horror movie is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre series as a franchise doesn't do it for me like the Halloween franchise, though, because I do like the first two Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels, but past that point, it's just not my kind of thing. I do feel like the strongest horror franchise overall, the most consistent, good horror franchise overall is Evil Dead franchise, of course. Like, all the movies are good, and the TV show is good, but there's not as much to that, and that's part of the reason why it's so high quality. It's much more auteur-driven, especially since Sam Raimi directed the first three movies and had a hand in producing all the subsequent stuff, but yeah, I'd probably say maybe Evil Dead is my second favorite horror franchise besides Halloween, just because, I don't know, Halloween is just like fucking Scooby-Doo for me. It's just like, the sequels are just kind of dumb fun. Like, I don't know, just something I just love to keep watching and listening to the fucking themes. It's just, I don't know, it's just fun for me. But, second favorite, definitely Evil Dead franchise. And I still need to talk more about the Evil Dead franchise overall, and maybe even play the game some more. But let's move on to another question. Alright, Rob Jr. 83 says, reboot Halloween 3 with a de-aged CGI Tom Atkins backside. I don't think they need to de-age Tom Atkins' ass. I bet that thing is still in perfect condition 40 years later, so that's unnecessary. But, it would be cool to maybe do something with Season of the Witch. Do some kind of, I don't know, spin-off movie from the third Halloween. I don't know, I guess explore Silver Shamrock. I don't know, revisit that world again. Bring back Tom Atkins. It'd be an interesting thing to explore, and maybe even the opportunity of just making like, to me, I don't know, a future for me for Halloween is definitely something streaming related, not necessarily in theaters. I think something you can do is make a spin-off Halloween series where it is the anthology format finally, where it has that style of the John Carpenter original Halloween, but it's just different stories. Maybe not necessarily as crazy as Halloween 3's story, but something that's like maybe set in the world of Michael Myers and has that same kind of vibe to it. But just different kinds of stories that aren't like a boogeyman shape stabby guy, like nothing like that, but something that where it has that feel. Go back to that. And, it would be an interesting thing to finally do again. put Michael Myers to rest for quite a while at least. But still, give folks like the Halloween flavor, the flavor of the Halloween franchise that they love. All right, let me see. The Kid Cody says, Doc, can you do a review of Bones and All? Bones. Man, I'm trying to get the actual. Okay, well, of Bones and All with Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet. It's Two Cannibals in Love, also with gory and good kills. I'm probably gonna see it at some point, maybe even in theaters. I gotta definitely get out of the Wolfula sometime and watch a good horror movie in theaters again. I am interested in seeing it just because it seems to have David Gordon Green playing a character. It's fucking weird. I don't know. It's an interesting thing seeing the recent Halloween movie director playing a character in a horror movie that came out next month, like a month after his Halloween. I don't know. It's definitely caught my eye for that. But it also just seems like an interesting concept, so I'll definitely check it out at some point. Nerd or Die says, is this voice your character voice or your real voice? What are you talking about, a character? I don't know what you're talking about. I guess if you want to hear me do like just a fucking regular doofus voice, like just some sort of Joe Schmo voice, I guess I could try my hand at it. Hey, listen to me, I'm just like some kind of fucking regular dude, just talking. Listen to this fucking boring-ass voice, oh man. Glad I don't sound like that. It's bullshit. Alright, I gotta get some more Fresca. Damn it. Alright, feel like I could go for a little bit more Fresca. Man, I'm really stretching the limits of what my voice can handle. 2 hours. Oh man, I want to reach that 2-hour mark though. Gavin Elrod says, thoughts on Mad Spy vs. Spy? Definitely one of my favorite Mad Magazine comic strips. Definitely the funniest, I think. Just every Antonio Prohias strip. Man, I'm like really, my brain is getting fried. Every Antonio Prohias comic was just fucking great. She was just like able to think outside the box. Just able to like basically make like essentially a Looney Tunes like Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote kind of cartoon work as like literally a comic strip within just a few panels. Just amazing, just amazingly talented cartoonist. Definitely one of the best. So yeah, I love the classic, Spy vs. Spy stuff. I've read all the classic Spy vs. Spy strips. Haven't really caught up with, any of the later Spy vs. Spy stuff, but the stuff when Antonio Prohias was still, in control, drawing the comic, all that stuff was gold. It was great. Alright, let me see. Justin Stewart just says, the X movie? Oh, wait, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I think he is asking me about X. I did see X recently, and I also saw Pearl in theaters. And they're both great. I'm looking forward to Maxine, the next one. Maybe once all three are out, I'll just make a big video reviewing all three at once, just as one cohesive narrative. It's an interesting thing, like this stealth horror trilogy that's coming out. Definitely worth checking out, especially X, because it really felt like it captured at least the feel of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's definitely a different thing, but it definitely caught, like, the vibe closer than I think any other movie that's come out like that I can think of, at least. I don't know, it just had that, that look and feel to it that felt really like the Tobe Hooper, Daniel Pearl visuals of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's something I kind of wish we could see in an actual Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Hopefully the next one will actually, nail the look and feel of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Got my fingers crossed for that. Don't have my hopes up, but just holding out at least a little hope that eventually a sequel will come along to Texas Chainsaw Massacre that actually, feels like that first movie. At least feels like they're making an effort. At least. But anyway, Eddie Chase has a super chat. Thank you, Eddie. Any chance you read the other Halloween teen novels like you did with Scream Factory? I have the second one, but it's one of those things where making that first Scream Factory video, it took such a long time to do, and I want to make sure I've got enough stuff lined up where I could be away for a while still, because, that first video was difficult because I wanted to make sure I had visuals for this book, where it isn't just me talking about the book, where you actually got an idea of what happens in the book visually. You didn't just it wasn't basically a podcast of me talking about a book, so the difficulty is creating visuals for something that has no visuals. Because, when I review a movie, I got the clips. I don't have to make anything, but when I review a book, I gotta make shit, ideally, to show you what happens. Give you an idea of what's going on, the best of my ability. So, yeah, gotta make sure I'm able to, illustrate these scenes and, roughly animate them. I'm not an actual animator. What I'm doing right now is not legitimate animation. This is kind of a mockery of true animation. This is just motion capture bullshit in real time. Not an art form like true animation, but I at least can keyframe drawings I make to approximate animation. I wish I was an actual animator and more a fully fleshed out cartoonist, but yeah, I mean, the challenge of making the next Halloween book review is just finding enough time to illustrate these scenes. But yeah, eventually I will finally review the second Halloween teen book. Don't worry, it's just finding the time. Anyway, let me see. Because I really do want to do it. I really do too. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Just want to make sure I got the time. Especially since also, it's definitely a passion video. It's definitely a video I make because I want to make it, and it's a fun project because, it's not one of those popular videos. It's like the Scream Factory video was probably the most challenging video I had to make, but it also wasn't a very popular video, so it's one of those things where it's I might have a lot of fun making the second one, but might have, maybe a different kind of fun making a different kind of video that might be more popular, so it is also just weighing things, but eventually I'll be in the right vibe where I'm okay, I'm ready to do this. Justin Stewart says, least favorite Stephen King movie. I don't know if I could think of one that I'm man, that one is the worst of all the Stephen King movies. There's bad ones. There's ones I guess I've been disappointed in. I guess that's the best I can really say is ones I've been disappointed in. I guess honestly probably the Shining miniseries he did with Mick Garris, just because it's such an inferior adaptation compared to the Kubrick one. It's much more faithful, but it's one of those things where, sometimes you just gotta let, gotta give someone breathing room with an adaptation to, really be creative and come in with a different take and a different idea of what the thing is, especially for the sake of adapting it into live action, so it's just one of those things where, I guess probably just that Shining miniseries, just because it's just so much worse. It's one of those things where it's he didn't make a good case for himself as far as being able to make a better adaptation of his book. Anytime, Stephen King tries to, get into the adaptation chair, it's never the best situation, I suppose. Except for, I guess, Maximum Overdrive, the one he directed, just because it's a fucking weird movie. Just full on, just Stephen King on cocaine, making, a crazy 80s action sci-fi movie. Just a fun movie, but definitely not one of his best adaptations overall. But when he, like, I don't know, when he tries to, like, because I don't know, I feel like it's unfortunate that there hasn't been a good adaptation of The Stand, because it is my favorite Stephen King book. But I feel like, I don't know, the 90s adaptation, it just doesn't have the production value that it really needed. Like, it really needed higher production values. It just stuck with, production values that are high for a TV miniseries, at least. But it's one of those things where you wish they could have done it on a bigger level comparable to an actual movie, just because it's such a great story. So it's, a lot of the effects just look cheesy and just, I don't know, it's just unfortunate. And also, like, the performances, it kind of has a look to it and a feel to it that feels like a fucking soap opera too. I don't know, it's one of those things where I wish they did a better adaptation of The Stand, and I was hoping the recent one would be, but that wasn't the case at all. So maybe in another 20 years they'll finally make a good version of The Stand. Hopefully. Okay, let me see. And good night to you, Vanessa. See you next time. Alright, let me find another question. Okay, Androius says, considering that you're represented by an animation right now, does that mean that you're a VTuber during this stream? Well, here's the thing about this, like, animated character I do for the streams. I started doing this in 2019, and there wasn't really, I guess maybe there were some VTubers out there, but it felt like, I don't know, this was like, when I was, like, trying to figure out how to set this thing up, I didn't really see anything like this. There wasn't anything like this at the time that it just felt like an obscure thing, and it's, I don't know, like, now it's like something you see commonplace, where you see all these, like, fucking little anime girl characters playing random games. You see this shit all the time, but I don't know, when I was doing this, I was fucking pioneering shit. I was, like, figuring out how to fucking do this, like, just figuring out all this software to make this happen, man. There was no, like, VTuber shit at the time. I mean, I feel like it's kind of crazy talking about this like it's, like, ancient history or something, but, I don't know, it's just crazy how much things changed in 3 years, where now you see this all over the place. It's just everywhere. Black Moon says, hey Doc, what do you think about Jason David Frank dying? Are you a fan of Power Rangers? Well, yeah, I discussed Jason David Frank's passing earlier. It's very sad, but yeah, I was a fan of Power Rangers during the 90s at least. I think up to, I don't know, like, I think when Power Rangers got sold to Disney, for that brief time period, I stopped being into it. I was really only into the original Saban iteration, especially Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But then once it went to Disney, just kind of stopped paying attention to Power Rangers in general. I did watch the Lionsgate movie that was made recently, the 2017 film, and I thought it was okay, but it's one of those things where the unfortunate thing is I felt like the story was fine. It was a fine origin for the Power Rangers. It kind of grounded things very well and fleshed out the characters really well and had some good performances, but it's one of those things where the costumes in the movie and the Zords in the movie look like total shit. They look terrible. It all just like the ugliest designs ever. Like, just really far away from, I don't know, like the way the designs in the original show appealed to me. Like, I don't know, it's just one of those things where that shit needed to look a lot better. It's one of those things where I love, like, the Zords because they're just these big clunky robots, but they went with, like, this fluid metal kind of look to it that looked all goopy. It's glowy and shit, like, just really busy designs, and it's just not really what appeals to me, design-wise. I'm sure some people really love the designs, just wasn't for me. And also the other issue with the recent Power Rangers movie was didn't have enough Power Rangers in it. They don't become the full-on Power Rangers until the last half hour. That's when they finally become a team and get in the costumes and get in their Zords in the last half hour. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like watching, like, it would be like if Sam Raimi made his Spider-Man movie and he doesn't put on the Spider-Man costume until the last half hour. It's just like ridiculous. It's just, it's one of those things where, you know, you gotta spend like just 45 minutes of a 2-hour movie on an origin story. Just get it out of the way and then have them just in the costumes, just being cool, like in a giant robot. Just fucking do it. And also, you know, the recent Power Rangers movie didn't have Bulk and Skull in it, which is a real shame, too. I guess it's not the same, not having the same guys, but, anyway, the Neon Chimp channel says, will we ever see more episodes of Monster Neighbors? And don't you think Frankenstein's monster looks like Bill Murray? I agree with that. That Frankenstein monster statue I have really does look like Bill Murray. You know, Monster Neighbors was like a really fun experiment, but I think it ended up becoming what the like sort of podcast with Goulash and I became, and what our relationship is. I have thought about maybe doing something with that Monster Neighbors thing in some way, but it was just like a fun little experimental thing that kind of fell by the wayside and into obscurity. But I'm glad you like those. Try to figure out some way to do stuff like that here again for sure. All right. Let me see. Gavin Elrod made sure to let us know that he's taking a shower. Okay, that's good to know. Just watch out for Norman Bates. Definitely don't want to run into that guy in the shower for sure. Alright, Androia says the Zord in 2017 movie didn't even mechanically combine. They just fused together. Yeah, I don't like that shit. That's not fun. That's not a fun version of Power Rangers. The fun thing is when they're like these clunky, different, totally, like, when they're like 5 totally different robot things that just combine together, like, they just snap into place, because then you can make toys of that, where they do the actual thing. But, like, when they made the toys of the 2017 Power Rangers, they couldn't make a Zord that could transform from 5 separate things. They just had to make it, like, a solid thing, and that's not fun. It's fun having, like, 5 separate things that connect to each other. Like, you know, where it's, like, you could do the thing you see in the movie or show. Like, you know, otherwise it's just bullshit. Like, I don't know. Okay, Well, yeah, essentially, as Justin Stewart says, Voltron. But the thing that was different with Power Rangers or Super Sentai compared to Voltron is, like, Voltron was, like, 5 lions that snap together to make a guy, like essentially a giant robot guy made out of lions. But with Power Rangers, it was like 5 separate entities that were totally different that made this like giant robot guy. So it had like an interesting kind of look where it wasn't like this cohesive thing. Like one of the legs would be like a saber-toothed tiger, and the other leg would be a triceratops, like just like something a lot more crazy and like not symmetrical. Like, I don't know, it's just interesting. Psoriasis says, do your thing, cuz, randomly. But thank you for reminding me of that line of dialogue. Nerd or Die has a super chat. Are you happy about the state of horror nowadays? Plenty of bangers this year, and now we're becoming more prominent again. Even Paramount's own studio. Yeah, you know, I mean, I feel like I'm very happy with the way horror is now. I feel like there's just, I don't know, there's just a lot more great horror movies coming out, where for a while it just felt like, just a lot of bullshit. Just like there was like lots of found footage movies, lots of movies about little ghost kids and shit for a while, and of course remakes. But now there's like lots of crazy original horror movies coming out that I've been enjoying, and also like I feel like a lot better continuations of classic franchises where it's just like, there's just like lots of different good stuff. And not into all of it, but, you know, it's just, I feel like we're going in a much better direction lately, for sure. So I'm happy with how things are shaping up, for sure, with the horror genre. And, you know, it's also, we had like a year where we had just a ton of sequels to classic horror franchise, and like some of them were good, some of them were bad, but it was kind of interesting to see so many of these franchises like actually returning the same year. We almost got the Evil Dead Rise the same year too, but of course that got pushed back and actually is going to theaters instead of direct to HBO Max, so that's good news. So yeah, you know. But Cheese Doodle asks, what's my favorite era of horror? And of course that's gonna be the 80s, for sure, you know. 70s and 80s, but especially 80s, and of course the 30s and 40s, but the 80s always just sticks out to me as just, I don't know, just the era where I just have the most fun watching the movies. There's just so much, I don't know, where it was just, you know, it was just like really just small independent filmmakers just getting into the industry, being creative, like being super limited with technology and figuring stuff out with what they got. But, you know, there's still always great horror movies coming out, you know, but the 80s, it just get the most fun overall, the best output. But I think it's time to wind things down and move on to my shoutouts. It's that time again for me to give thanks and present my monthly Wolfulair shoutouts to the top tier supporters on Patreon and my YouTube channel memberships. Links to all these folks are in the description. Follow and subscribe to Fits on the Fritz, a horror channel dedicated to skits involving our favorite shape Michael Myers and even horror movie reviews. Subscribe to the Steamlord on YouTube today, a prolific YouTube poop creator who has a new Simpsons Treehouse of Horror collab coming soon, so subscribe and stay tuned for it. Check out and subscribe to Maverick Media, a YouTube review channel with plenty of horror news and breakdowns, which should be right up your alley if you're watching my show. Next up, I'm gonna have to suggest that you check out Rockland Graves Productions, an up-and-comer in the realm of horror YouTube who also produces some great music. I gotta give a shout out to the Six Squad, a YouTube channel with unique style and a wide range of horror content, including reviews, music, and so much more. Super Shag 21 asked me to give a shout out to his pal's YouTube channel, Humor Waffle, a channel dedicated to animated horror parodies of pop culture. Freaky! Subscribe and follow the Podmortem Podcast for all your horror listening needs. They do weekly discussions of horror films, and their most recent episode covers Hellraiser 2, Hellbound. Listen to and follow the Dead and Married Podcast, a married couples podcast dedicated to horror, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow Moshmania, an Instagram page featuring cosplays of horror icons like Jason and Michael Myers. Follow Allison Gray's Instagram page, Creator for Hire, to check out their lovely art. They also do commissions for $5 or $10, and you should also follow them on Twitter at Creator for Hire. Follow the Shape of Evil page on Instagram for horror cosplays and all things Halloween franchise. Follow Trevor Seance66 on Instagram to witness some fantastic horror memorabilia, and also spiders if you're braver than I. Follow Wickaburr on Instagram for his reviews of recent and classic horror films, which you can also find on his Letterboxd. Follow Scott Topic on Instagram as well if you want to check out some kick-ass horror memorabilia, including customized Michael Myers masks. Now, a very late happy birthday to Staghorn the Druid, whose birthday fell on November 1st. Hope you had a great birthday, 4 weeks ago, Staghorn. Paul M. wanted me to give a shout out to his girlfriend Katie, no E, and let her know that she's savage as fuck. I'd like to give a shout out to a longtime fan Sean O'Brien, one of the biggest supporters of my channel over the years. And now, Rooster Montgomery just has a message for Crystal Brown. 4 times. 4 times. 4 times. Finally, I'd like to give a special shout out to a certain special lady out there named Vanessa. How you doing? And here's a full list of my shout-out tier supporters on Patreon and my YouTube channel memberships. Their support is greatly appreciated and helps the channel to continue to thrive and grow through these many years. It wouldn't be possible without all their help. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Remember that links to all these folks are in the description. Support my Patreon to get bonus content, including early access to videos and exclusive weekly bonus movie streams every Sunday. Also, shoutouts like this. My next stream will be Final Destination 5. Support me at patreon.com/drwolfula today to gain access to this and other upcoming movie streams. And thank you to pre-recorded me for giving me the opportunity to take a leak in the middle of this stream. Now that I've taken a leak, I can actually answer a few more questions. I'm not gonna go yet. I feel like sticking around. Just needed to take a leak, so I'm very grateful to have that shoutouts video for that purpose as well. Also to thank the folks who support my channel, financially, of course. You all support my channel, but those folks, you know, they support the channel financially, so gotta thank them. Also appreciate it because I can take a leak. Let me at least address a few more questions before I go. Alright, well, Next Gen Studio says, do you keep up with the epic saga of Chucky's life? So yeah, I haven't caught up with the TV series yet, I do need to, but it's one of those things where I am a casual fan of Chucky, of the Child's Play series in general. It's one of those things where it's not a franchise I constantly revisit, and I don't love all the movies. There are fans that do love every Chucky movie, and, you know, I'm not so into some of the directions the franchise has gone into, but, you know, I do really like, you know, the first 4 Chucky movies a lot, for sure, but it's one of those things where it's not something I'm super passionate about, like, something like Michael Myers or Freddy or Jason, just not as into it, but some people are super fucking into them, like, very passionate, and I believe my most popular videos are Chucky videos, ironically, even though I'm not, like, ultra passionate. If I was smart, I would be making tons of Chucky stuff, because that stuff, most popular videos I'll post sometimes, amazingly. Wish I was much more into Chucky, yeah. Alright, let me see. Problem Paeso says, are you excited about the upcoming Texas Chainsaw game? You know, I'm looking forward to it. I will definitely get it, but it's one of those things where I wish they had the rights to all the movies, or at least most of the movies, just because I feel like basing an asymmetrical survival game around that one original movie, it's just a little limiting. To the point where they have to make up a whole bunch of new stuff, make up new villains and stuff for it, where it's just like, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, at a certain point you might as well just say, let's just make a actual just Texas Chainsaw Massacre survival horror game that's not multiplayer instead. Maybe give that a shot. Maybe you can make a successful version of that. Like a successful horror franchise game that's not multiplayer. Maybe something single player. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, I guess they just don't like making money from single-player folks, I guess. I don't know, it's unfortunate. Alright, well, let me see. Justin Stewart says, Dawn of the Dead 78 or 2004? I mean, I gotta go with the original 78 version. I mean, the 2004 movie is really fun, but it just doesn't get to me. My cat in the background is making noises. There's like a little, I guess there's like a little plastic bag loose and he's just sitting on it. Damn it. It's just like making this little ruffling noises. Damn it. Little rustling noises. Ugh. But yeah, 78 Dawn of the Dead all the way for me. It's just, I don't know. It's just more my kind of thing. With slow burn, classic 70s zombie movie. From the master Romero. Just gotta go with it. All time. Okay, let me see. And also, the cat keeps making, like, snorting noises, too. Ugh. Man, okay, whatever. Fixated on the cat. Drawing attention to the cat when I shouldn't be. But Black Moon says, Doc, would you do the Final Destination series? That's actually planned for next year. I am planning to review all 5 Final Destination movies. Like, they're where I'm just making fun of them. Like, they're just so funny. Like, I got into them recently watching them, and they're just so fucking funny to make fun of. Like, it's just, they're good, solid, kind of horror movies, but you can, like, make there's, like, lots of potential for humor regarding the movies, so definitely planning to finally cover the films in the future. So keep an eye out for those videos for sure. That guy says, did you catch the new release of Dawn of the Dead 78 in theaters? Unfortunately, I didn't. Maybe it's still in theaters. I didn't even really know it came out in theaters beyond just people telling me. Didn't see any promotion for it, but at least the fact that it finally got re-released, it might be a signal that we're gonna get an actual new American release of it on home video. Because, of course, you can get that Second Sight 4K Blu-ray, you can import it, but I don't want to go through that hassle. So I definitely would, much more appreciate just being able to just buy it, like, just buy a, reasonably priced domestic version of Dawn of the Dead 1978 with everything, finally, because I'm stuck with the DVD for now. The Ultimate Edition DVD, but it's still a DVD. I would like the 4K version, but I don't want to, like, do the importing shit, and especially since it'll have, like, extra discs, like the bonus discs I wouldn't be able to use anyway, so it's just, like, these extra discs that are just, like, unusable, and Alright. Big Dog Jr. says, what's your favorite horror movie and character? This shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's definitely Michael Myers, my favorite horror character, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, my favorite horror movie. That's for sure. Alright. Next Gen Studios says, Sperm of Charles is honestly really enjoyable. I've never really heard that alternate title of Seed of Chucky before, but it's definitely much more direct. I appreciate it. They probably should have called it Sperm of Charles instead. Be an interesting fucking porno, for sure. Alright, Androia says, Doc, what's your opinion on childhood icons like Pooh and Bambi being made into horror movies now that they're public domain? I mean, I didn't even know they were making something Bambi-related, but, I think you could make some good horror stuff based on these kids franchises, but it definitely seems like that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey film is definitely just getting rushed out of the door because Winnie the Pooh is public domain and they're like, we want to be the first to the market with our horror movie, with our, with our take on Pooh that's horror related, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, it just seems like it's probably gonna be super shitty. So, it just depends on if it's done well. It really comes down to that. I think that aspect, though, is really cheap. Like, taking something that was essentially children's entertainment and then just, like, trying to make your marketing, well, we took this kid thing and made it scary. And that's how you get, like, people talking about your movie. It just feels like I don't know. I guess a cheap gimmick, I suppose. I guess you could kind of look at it from that angle for sure. Just a way to, like, get people talking without really necessarily bringing any substance to the table, I suppose. Yeah, it is a lot like the banana splits, as Rob Jr. 83 said. Like, just let's take this random kids property and just make it like a scary horror movie, Five Nights at Freddy's adjacent to, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's just a little cheap. I mean, it's much more, I don't know, it's much more admirable to, like, make something that's inspired by, but it's its own thing, like something like Five Nights at Freddy's is inspired by, stuff like Chuck E. Cheese, but also like there's just tons of children's restaurants with animatronic characters, just that premise, but it's not like this is the actual fucking restaurant characters or anything try to make it scary. No, it's just its own thing, and that's always a lot more admirable when it's just like coming up with something that can be its own thing, but is still referencing and, inspired by something. All right, now it's time. Well, actually, let me just say, Charlie Greer says, can you do reviews for our I Know What You Did Last Summer? I am planning on reviewing the original movie sometime. The thing is, I wanted to review the original movie while also reviewing the book that the original I Know What You Did Last Summer is based on. But the issue is, I'm having trouble tracking down a copy of the original book that's unaltered. Because current copies of I Know What You Did Last Summer in print now are just like, they basically have like updates to things, like where they change, like they basically make the book take place in modern day. And, the original book took place in the 70s. And it's one of those things where, I really want to track down just an unaltered version of the original book, so I'll probably look on eBay. And it's hard to, I guess, also verify what's unaltered and what isn't, because, I don't know, I definitely want to have a pure experience reading the original book. But yeah, the most accessible version of the original book is the altered version, like digitally and just new copies. It's just like fucking a version that references cell phones and social media and stuff. And it's like, why would you like fucking alter a book at all anyway? It's like, just fucking, like, I know it's like we want to try to connect with today's kids, but it's just like, it's not right. You shouldn't change anything about a book at all. But yeah, Cheese Doodle, I Know What You Did Last Summer was based on a book, and the book is totally different from the movie. The movie turned it into a slasher sort of property, but the original book was a totally different beast. So yeah, I definitely want to review the book as well as the movie, just to compare the two, like, just to show how different they are. But, it's one of those things where I just gotta finally go out of the way to track down an actual copy of that book. All right, time to finally wind things down for real this time. I already showed the shoutouts vid, so just gonna let you guys know that, if you like this stream, like it, and if you love this stream, subscribe. You probably are already subscribed, but if you haven't pressed the bell button, press it, because you'll get notifications when I do another one of these streams or when a new video goes up, and it helps, it helps the channel a lot more. If you guys, soon as something goes up, you check it out. Definitely helps me for sure. And if you want to help me more, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, wherever you're active, at Dr. Wolfula. I am also on Letterboxd as Dr. Wolfula. Dr. Wolf, like, not the full word doctor. So I guess if you want to follow me on Letterboxd as well, you can. I'm not really on anywhere else, but I am, like, toying with the idea of going with some other social media options, just because it seems like the three that I've been relying on may or may not have futures. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out. And also, if you want to support the channel, support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. If you want to, back up the channel, you'll also get bonus content like the upcoming stream tomorrow night, Final Destination 5. So, yeah. Anyway, I've been your host, Dr. Wolfula, finally calling it a night. See you all next time. Bye-bye, and also greetings to you, gory bits. All right, bye for now.
Hope you enjoyed this live stream. Why don't you watch another thing while I have your attention?